welcome back to the Dossier Project. It's been a little while since we've been back. I'm nervous and excited to be back with all of you. We've been working behind the scenes and we haven't been as vocal publicly yet, but with the events that have happened, the recent events that have happened with Charlie Kirk, we couldn't let that go unacknowledged. I know for myself, I won't speak for the other ladies here, but I know for myself, this really hit home, whether that's because of my own personal experiences and what we've gone through, but this really hit home and has made a huge impression on me in the past couple of weeks. So we wanted to jump on, we wanted to take the time to acknowledge what has happened and share a little bit about how this has impacted each one of us and why we think it's so relevant at the moment. So, ladies, what has it been like for you hearing this news, seeing this news? What have been your experiences over the past few weeks?
First, I really had heard much about Charlie Kirk was only after he was killed, so I didn't know much about him, who he was or what he stood for. But given the news about him, I just wanted to hear for myself first, listening to him, his words directly, and then also seeing looking and skimming about what other people were saying about him, and I was just wanted to understand like why it was so impactful and which news, and why there's also such polarization about it. And to me, it was just such at least from my impressions, he was someone who was very clear in terms of who he was, what he stood for. He understood the repercussions of that, and also he wanted to have a discussion with everyone in different viewpoints and very open to hearing and debating different points. So I think it comes down to me that if we could, remember when we seemed like there were earlier times where we could just agree to disagree and not have things be so escalated that people would resort to violence over a difference of opinions. So.
I was aware of Charlie Kirk before all of this. I'd watched him in a few debates. I think it was like one conservative against 20 Democrats, or I don't know, something like that. It was one they do these debates, and I'd seen a few of his school tours, and there's what I appreciated about him, or appreciate about him, is the conversation, the willingness to listen, the willingness to have a dialogue, the way that he was very respectful, even if people had a different belief or thought. There was no ad hominem attacks. There was no, rerouting. It was very factual. And even though I didn't agree with a lot of the things that he said, and there was many things that his beliefs or values that I disagree with, I could still understand and appreciate where he was coming from, and felt he made a good argument. And so, I'd seen him like someone like that. And actually, the few days before there was the stabbing of Irina, the Ukrainian girl in a train as well. So there was already this, for me, this trend going on with people exerting to violence because of something that they didn't want, and I was shocked by that, and just shocked that you can disagree, you can dislike someone, you can have different opinions, but then to go to the extent just to try to eradicate that person, their voice, their presence, because of some symbolism that they represent, because of some idea that they represent, because of some, enemy that they represent, that it took it to another extent. This wasn't a political person. This wasn't, this was kind of a regular guy that, went around universities talking to college students, and that someone like that, has to worry about their life. It extends, it makes anyone who is willing to stand up and say what they believe and what they say, a target basically. So it's very scary, and to see where the world is at, that free speech, difference of opinion are no longer really tolerated. So it's pretty, yeah, pretty shocking to me that this is what it's come to, or this is where it's at now.
I was reflecting on all of it. So there's kind of two points I'll make about my like reaction to it all. And the first is just how sensitive I feel to his death as a human being. And like, I know other people have said this, but the part that really hit me is like, oh my God, his family, like his kids are going to grow up without their dad. Like it's totally heartbreaking to me that somebody, he dies in such an unnecessary way. Like this is not, oh, so sad. It was a car crash that, slippery road, something, like, which is tragic, but just sort of seems like the universe, whereas this is so clearly like intentional human violence against another person. It's not necessary. There is no reason, no gain, no self-defense, involved in it. And it's just loss. It's loss on everybody's side. I think even the shooter, his family, what that does, his community, what that does for everybody. So that's one thing that struck me. And the other thing is sort of similar to Sahaja, thinking about the intolerance this demonstrates. And it's not everybody. Clearly, it was a single person who, took action. As far as I think we understand, I don't know if it's all been worked out, but all the stories are saying it's a single person who took action to kill Charlie. But we have experienced people telling us to be quiet, or in more colorful terms, we've experienced people telling us that we're wrong just on the internet. We have experienced, I think all of us, a type of form of like doxing, not the most extreme that people can experience, but giving information about us and kind of like trying to whip up the mob, so to speak, to go after us. And we're nobody. Nobody even cares about us. Like we're nobody. And the reason I was thinking about, the only reason it hasn't been more powerful against us is because we're not more powerful or more influential. And if we were to become more popular, let's say this video goes viral, let's say any of our content goes viral, something gets big and we get noticed, people are going to come after us in this like very hateful way that tells you to be quiet. And, while those are not the same as actually being killed or attacked physically, it's not far removed. The intent is the same. The intent is to use violence and force to get somebody to stop saying something that you don't like. And that's super problematic in a civilized society. So that sort of struck me in general as like, what is it that at least one person, but we've experienced other people, think that the solution to people existing with opinions I disagree with is to try and force them to stop?
It went on because then there was, the event happened, then people were commenting and posting about it on social media. I think a lot of people were very, insensitive, being happy about the death, all kinds of things like that, which I think is terrible. It shows, how someone is in character by treating people who've died. So just to celebrate someone's death, even if you disagree with them, even if you don't like them, I don't think it's a great, act of character. But then what ensued is that those people who were then, celebrating the death, they were being, pulled up on websites, and there were,
yeah, it's just like the same
for firing them. And it was just awful to see, because I don't think it's right to celebrate someone's death, but I also don't think, it's right to then now like go and get them fired or so it's everyone's doing this kind of, I don't know, virtue signaling of who's the best, or who has the right to say what's right or wrong, and then everyone thinks they're on the right side and they have the liberty to destroy and be do mean things to other people because they're on the right side and the others aren't, you know? So it's becomes this very uncivilized way of doing things. I mean, it reminds me of like, you know, kindergarten or like middle school or something where it's very like he said, she said, yeah, you know, like taking sides. And so it's not a way to resolve conflict. It's not a way of, you know, having a conversation. It's not a way of helping people empathize or feel or understand what's going on. It's just firing things up, and it's making it more and more intense, and there's more and more anger and more people leashing out, and it's just spiraling. It's kind of escalating, which is awful.
I think that Charlie Kirk represented, to me at least, I feel like I have a little bit of an idea of what it takes to be able to stand up against hate and still be outspoken, you know, still try to uphold the truth, still try to do good, still try to protect the things you love. And I think Charlie Kirk really worked hard to do that. You know, I mean, if you listen to him speak, whether you agree with him or not, he's taken so much time to look at the issues, to study, to see the effect on people, to try to care for and uphold the things that he felt are most dear in the world, and how that would affect all of us. And it's really concerning. It's really concerning that another human being would completely gloss over that, like that there's another human standing in front of you that has developed themselves in this way and is, you know, trying to have honorable discourse essentially about issues that really affect all of us, and just sees whatever fear is brought up in them, you know, whatever goes on for them when he says the things he says, whether it's insecurity or fear or whatever those things are, that it's terrifying that that's where we're at. You know, I mean, I think for all of, I know every single one of us here has faced a tremendous amount of, I mean, look, it's hard to just get on Instagram in general and just make a fun video. Like, it can be difficult to just come out of your shell and just share yourself vulnerably. But to do that and put your butt on the line for something you believe in, you know, to really stand for something takes tremendous courage, tremendous training, tremendous, like, you know, even just like I said, the studying and the thinking that he's done about the issues, I think is a huge value to our society. And the fact that that can just be stamped out in an instant is it's a huge loss. It's a huge loss to all of us. I mean, the amount that he knew, and the courage and the stance and the inspiration, I think is just a huge loss. And I think, like you said, Sahaja, one of the biggest things that again stood out to me in this situation, whether you agree with him, whether you don't, whether you're scared of him, whether you think he's going to take the country in the wrong direction, whatever you think may be going on, to celebrate when another human life is been taken, I think is horrifying to me. And it was very apparent throughout the internet that this was just, it was like he was a pawn, like he was an object that just represented ideas. And, you know, we could, you know, like, there was a lot of comments like he deserved this, or he had this coming to him, or this was his karma. And that to me just completely obliterates the human in, you know, and the bad act that has happened, in order for us to probably feel better. Like, oh, well, I don't have to feel the pain of another human killing another human being because.
And I don't have to worry about it happening to me, because
Right.
I'm not doing the specific act. Like, it's, if you can make it, well, because he did this, that's why it happened. I'm not doing that, so therefore it won't happen to me.
Right.
Right. Which is kind of the reverse of what I experienced. I was like, oh my gosh, like I see what he was doing and I can see parallels. So it's not, I can see there's not too many steps before that's happening to me too, or my neighbor or my
100%. I mean, I think that's why it hits so close to home for me too, is just because of what we've been doing and what we've been standing against continually, whether we're big or small. You know, the amount of hate that we've received, it's very palpable that that could be a next step. Like you said, Leah, if we were big enough, that would be, you know, that would be how people decide to handle disagreement. It's amazing how much more we pay attention to somebody after they've been killed, but I've watched way more of his content after, unfortunately. And the debates he would have, hot, you know, like heated, really like going back and forth. And then, like, you know, the kid would be like, "Yo, can I have a hat?" He's like, "Yeah, here, have a hat." You know, like they were still cool after it. You know, they were still human with each other after
You
it.
start to look actually closer at any of his debates, he's so consistent in his approach and how he does things that it is so easy and quick to dismantle and dismiss any of the accusations. And you can see how all of those accusations are totally based on snippets taken out of context, you know, and if you start to actually listen to the full debate or what he's saying, it starts to make sense. And I think most people, which side ever you believe in, you can start to have a conversation because you can see the other perspective and it makes more sense. So I think it was a great example of just showing how far these things can go and how ridiculous, you know, how easy mainstream media or you know, people can be labeled and called things without people checking it, you know, and just accepting it, which is very dangerous and very scary as well.
So it has been a pleasure to have this conversation with all of you ladies, and you know, anybody who's watching, please feel free to chime in. We'd love to know your thoughts. We'd love to know your struggle. Share with us, and we look forward to speaking with you all very soon.